It is my honor and pleasure to welcome to Yang Speaks my good friend, the decorated veteran, author, combater of poverty, all-around superhero, former Rhodes Scholar. I guess you're always a Rhodes Scholar. That's the way that shit works. Wes Moore. Wes, welcome to Yang Speaks.
Andrew, it's good to see you, man. It's good to be hanging out here with the Yang Gang, man. I'm thankful for this. I've been looking forward to this for a long time, man. I'm proud of you.
Well, you and me both, and we have so much to talk about.
Yeah.
I saw you when I was just starting to run for president, when it was a little bit more crazy, shall we say.
And you know what's funny? I tell people all the time, I will never forget that meeting where you came up to the Office of Robin Hood. We're talking about poverty. We're talking about work. And so then I asked you a question. I'm like, so what are you up to? And you said, I think I'm going to run for president. And I remember taking that pause, like, wait, is he serious right now, or is he saying something that's supposed to react? And then when I realized you were serious, I remember getting up and giving you a hug, because I was like, this is so. I mean, it's so unbelievably bold and brave and beautiful. And when you think about it in respects of where we are as a nation and what we need, we've got to be thinking bold. We got to be thinking brave on this stuff, because it's I think that's kind of what the moment it's what the moment requires and asks for. So I will never forget exactly where we were in my office and where we were sitting when you first told me that you were running for president.
Yeah, and that was one of the best reactions I got. So thank you, Wes. I remember it too. My biggest question for you, Wes, is a personal one. I've known you for years. And your biography is remarkable. It's the stuff of, almost too good to be true, made for TV movie type stuff, like jumping out of planes, defending the country, trying to fight poverty at the scale you're fighting it. I've been in rooms with you. I've been in similar rooms. And there were times when I felt like, and this would be more extreme for you than it would be for me. Because, and when I was running for president, I actually kind of realized a little bit of like the role I was filling, like the persona. Like in your case, you're like the walking inspirational, like, hey, like I'm like the embodiment of the American dream, as a leader who's come out of really difficult circumstances and now is someone that everyone looks to for inspiration. The personal question is, like, when I was in those rooms, there were times when I just felt like screaming my head off, like where like I have that role, and like, as particularly when I was the head of a nonprofit, because you're continuously, there was like this, dynamic you had where it's like, and now here's inspirational nonprofit leader, and then I'm like, okay, like I will now play my role to the best of my ability, and then you will give me this grant, maybe, if I'm lucky, or I did a good job, and then whatever size the grant is, then like I act like it's the greatest thing in the world, like even if maybe like I was hoping for something a little different or bigger, and so there were times like when I really struggled personally. Now I've known you for years, and I've never really felt from you like anything but like 100% like functional sincerity, really. Like you always seem to be inhabiting yourself and very present. So I'm just wondering whether or how you deal with like any of those thoughts or pressures, if you have them, or if I'm just projecting my own struggles onto you.
Brother, it is an everyday thing, but I realize too, it's an everyday thing for all of us, right? And actually, I give you a lot of praise in the fact that you own it. I think there's a lot of people who walk around like it's not real, like it's not this. I mean, transparency and humility are incredibly powerful, particularly to see in people that I admire, like you, because the reality is that pressure is real. And I think that part of the thing that I think that kind of keeps me in a level of center, and I know it does for you as well, is we do walk around knowing that our narratives, our stories, when you consider our backgrounds and our journeys, are unlikely. That we weren't the people who came from, this was not a quote unquote societal birthright. This was something that there were people in our lives, family members, friends, mentors, coaches, etc., who in many ways saw something in us before we could even see it in ourselves. And I think about it in the case of like my grandfather, where my grandfather was actually the first one on my mom's side of the family born in this country. He was born in Charleston, South Carolina, but he wasn't raised here. And the reason was because when he was just a toddler, the Ku Klux Klan ran him and the rest of my family out of this country. Not just out of Charleston, South Carolina, because my great-grandfather was a minister, and he's a very vocal minister. And eventually the verbal threats became physical ones, and he picked up his family in the middle of the night and he left this country. And the majority of my family, they vowed to never come back here, and they didn't. My grandfather did. My grandfather was the only one who came back to the United States and started his family here with my great-grandmother, who's actually from Cuba, and they came to the South Bronx, where he was a minister, the first black minister in the history of the Dutch Reformed Church. My grandmother was a school teacher in the South Bronx for almost 30 years. And I think about it in context of this, where this was a man who was forced out of this country when he was just a child. Some of his earliest memories were America's ugliest moments. And he loved this country like no one I knew. And I think about, and part of the reason I have to tell you, Andrew, why when you told me that, my first gut reaction was that you're running, my first gut reaction was to hug you, because what else are we supposed to be doing? Like, this country is an extraordinarily special experiment. And it's something that every drop of progress has been hard-earned. It has not been inevitable. And it's something that needed to happen because the words of this country were not matching up to its practices. Its ideals and its values were not matching up to its practices. And so every single bit of progress that we have made in this country has been hard-earned and it's been hard fought for. And what choice do we have, particularly considering the past and the legacies that we come from, but to fight, but to stand up and be a portion as brave as my grandfather was, as your family was. Have a portion of the bravery and the courage and the loyalty and the patriotism that they had. And so this is hard stuff, man. And sometimes there is a level, the place that we call home will leave us with a level of frustration that is sometimes indescribable. Our job isn't to stay there, though. Our job is to remember not just why we're here, but the progress we have made, and to know that if that progress is going to continue, it's on us. We're not responsible for where things are right now, but the truth is, if they're like that 20 years from now, that is our cross to bear. That is on us. And that's what I just take seriously.
Well, you certainly embody that through your action, your career, the stories that you've been amplifying and sharing with the world. It's a privilege to be your friend, Wes, and it's going to be a privilege to abolish poverty alongside you in the days to come. First in a small part of the country, and then hopefully society-wide. Thank you for listening in. I hope you enjoyed this conversation. If you did, please do subscribe to Yang Speaks and click on notifications so we can let you know every time we have a new episode.